Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Crush Your Trade. This is Will V, and today we're going to go over the trade we took on Friday, which is Meta. Was a really good trade. We had a lot of good trades at the Crush Your Zone on Friday, but we'll start with Meta. And do me a favor, if you haven't already, click the like button. And if you want to get more of these videos, please subscribe. All right, let's start with Meta here. So we had a Crush Your Zone trade at 950. And looking at this, I didn't really get a continuation to the upside on this one here. I put the top of the ORV here, 5-minute range here, opening range here. And, for me, I don't really see any good retesting in here, but we do get a nice move off the Crush It zone. And this took place at 9:54, close to 10 o'clock. That's my favorite hour. Most of these setups take place about 10 o'clock. So we'll go right to the 10-second. And I'm going to remove the candles, you guys, like I always do, because this way it's easier to read. Give me a second here. I like to use the moving averages. So here at the Crush It zone, I have a nice key level right here at 634.19. You can see that the 9 crosses the 20. We have a nice entry right here in the Crush It zone. And we finish this off with another entry. An add at the break of the 50 SMA. You can also see the EMA crossing the SMA here, so let's give this confirmation we have a good move to the downside. Once we're into the trade, we do not need the 10-second anymore. It'll fake you out, but once you're in that trade, you get over here to the 1 minute, and this is where we'll start scaling out. Okay, so scaled a little early here maybe. You can see we had a pretty big move here. There's your first scale there at the 0.618. You can take a scale down here at the 360, which is close to 3.82. And depending on how many contracts you have, I was pretty much out right around this time. I'm just building a small account. So took the profits here. Very, very good. I think we're up about $70 on some of the contracts. When we started trimming, we got all the way up to like $150 per contract. And you can see on Meta, we had a much, much bigger move to the downside. If I remember right, these ended up, I think the buy-in was like $4, and they ended up at something like $12. So an exceptional move. However, like I said, I'm in a small account. I only got a few contracts. If this thing decides to zip and go the other way, I can't afford to hang on to a trailer. Hoping that it gets down even farther. So I hang on as long as I can until I feel like it's reasonably ready to trim. And I took this one out. The last one I took out, like I said, right here on the break into that 5-minute ORB, and did very, very well on Meta. Now, if I had a lot more, then I would be good to go for a bigger move to the downside. All right, I think you guys can hear me now, can't you? I'm just talking about Meta here. So that was the trade of the day. The other great trade we had off the Crush It zone was Tesla. This one came a little bit later. I think we had a couple good plays here on Tesla. We got into what I call the strike zone, the Crush It zone right here. About 11:50. I was gone for the day, done trading. I have a beta test going on in this indicator that I built here, the buy signal. And it seems to be working pretty good. So I'm going to test it for maybe another month or so before I start implementing it. But if you see these buy and sell signals on the screen, ignore them for now. We're just making sure that they work and function properly. But you had an awesome trade here on Tesla at the Crush It zone. And this was a couple different things here. We'll talk about this here in a second. Once again, I like to remove the candles here, because this is how we can see our entries, right? Looks like I erased my interesting here. For some reason, my moving average is not showing up. Interesting. I'll have to see what's going on here. My moving average isn't showing up on the 10-second here. So at any rate, we wait for the 10-second crossover here. There it comes. I got it now. So we get a crossover from the 9 to the 20 right here. So this is our entry spot right in here. So we'll enter in here, and then we'll add to that position right in here. Sometimes we'll get a retest to the point of the 50 SMA. And let's see if I can put that back up there so you can see if that retest. There it is. You break that 50 SMA. Here's your retest. You can either enter in here once you get that lift off, or wherever is fine, and you get a nice move to the upside. So that is a nice, beautiful move to the upside off the crusher zone on Tesla. Was kind of working on a cup and handle type deal here. Kind of a sloppy one, but we kind of have a cup and handle. A little bit of a break to the upside. How do you know how far that break is going to go? We just put our impulsive fib levels in there, and look at 90% of the time it just pulls back right on those fib levels. So that's what we had on Tesla. Let's move over to Apple real quick here. Apple didn't really have anything going on here on Monday, so we'll let that one go. Didn't have any plays on that. Moving into today, what am I looking at on Apple? I've said this for the last couple of days. We're kind of consolidating. We're going to break out here at some point, either to the upside or the downside, so we'll just wait on that. We're still playing around with the 100-day. Okay, this was that 100-day break that I took the other day. Usually when we break the 100-day, we'll get to the 200. So, we might be knocking on that door again today here with a break below the 100. So we'll look for a retest and a continuation of the downside and see if we can get that price down to the 230, down to 227 roughly, the 200-day. So we'll keep an eye on that, and that would be on my side chart. AMD, we had a lot of great crusher zone trades the other day. So here it is again, crusher zone. This one takes place at 9:44, a little bit earlier than 10 o'clock. But we have a entry position right here, and you add to that position over here. You get rid of the 10-second, and then you start scaling out at your 0.618 and your zero line and so forth. Not the biggest move of the day, but a little choppy, but it is still a good crusher zone trade. And once again, you can see how choppy it is. I don't have any 5-minute breaks on here that look reasonably nice. No good setups on that. Moving into the week on AMD, just kind of waiting for a break of this ascending trend line on the hourly here. So if we come down here, we break this, might see a bigger move to the downside. Something like this here. Not going to be really on my watch list, but something to look for. It's still kind of sideways trading. You can see it's been sideways trading for the last few days here, and that's also waiting for some kind of breakout here. Okay. Microsoft, nothing on Microsoft for me. Also, adding into the retirement account, and then I can see here also, if we can get down, if Microsoft was to take a really big swing to the downside, really would be doubling down on my retirement account here at 245, 250-ish. We'll see if it gets down that far. But definitely watching Microsoft for this zone right here between 367 down to 349. And, we might get a day trade out of it, but mostly just looking for my retirement account right there. Okay. Did have a little bit of a crush it zone. A little bit spready on this one. Took place at 1040. I think there was better opportunities this day, so we'll just kind of leave this one alone. Amazon had a crush it zone trade, but the thing with this one here is you got to be careful. You can see that by the time we had this big red candle here off the crush it zone at the downside, you can see by the time we get into our entry down here, the crossovers, we are pretty much down to the 0.382. So you're already down here by the time you look at this in the 10-second. Okay. So you got to be careful on this one here. You got a smaller move. So look at your risk reward and see if it's worth taking. Not all the crush zones produced, I guess they don't all produce what we're expecting them to produce, but you're not going to get into this trade too far here at the crusher zone without knowing that it's going to move to the downside. You need that confirmation. So this might be one of those ones we could have probably passed up on, just based on the fact that by the time we're getting into the trade, we're already down to the zero line. We got VWAP close by. It might be a quick scalper, but once again, just be prepared and make sure you know what you're getting into on these crusher zones. NVIDIA was a really nice move to the downside also off the crush it zone. Here it is. You got the 9 crossing the 20. You got the moving averages price crossing the 50. We got a retest right there where those moving averages move down, and then you got a nice move to the downside. Consolidates a little bit at first in the 10 second, but ends up heading to the downside. And once you're in this trade, you want to close the 10 second, stay on the 1 minute, and take your scales off the 1. NVIDIA will kind of be on a side watch again today. I have these levels marked out at 108.84 and 112. I'd be looking at NVIDIA for a possible move to the downside again. We got a gap down today, and so I would be looking at NVIDIA for this break of this level, retest, move to the downside. So we'll see where we start at the open. If we are, below this already, we'll look for that retest for that move to the downside. Or in this range, if we get a crush it zone up here, right here, if we get a crush it zone somewhere in this area, I won't be opposed to taking this to the downside. Okay, so that's what I'll be looking for on NVIDIA today. And then Meta, we just went through this one here. Really good move. Really, really good move. I can't say it enough. That just paid phenomenally on Friday. It's a little spready, but you know what? When it moves, it moves. You don't have to worry about the spreads. It covers those spreads pretty quick. What I'm looking here is I have the 100. I'm sorry, I have the 200 here on the hourly. So that is a level of interest for me today on Meta. And once again, I'm going to copy these levels to the charts once I clean them up here for the day. And I'm going to be looking for this Meta move to the downside if we want to get that. But you can see yesterday we have this nice move off of the $600 level here on the daily. So let me see here once. Yeah, we are gapping down also, so we might see a gap down, but I don't know how far Meta is really going to want to go down, so I'm going to be a little bit cautious on this one. It does pay well. I'm going to mark a level down here, this previous low, and so this is going to be interesting to see how this works out. Based on the daily with this candle here, it looks like we might want to move to the upside also, but got a little bit of resistance in here, so we'll just see how that plays out and see how it matches with the crush it zones. Okay, Tesla, talked about this one also, about going into today, what I've been looking at. We still are messing around in this gap zone from the election, and kind of want to see what it's going to do here. I do have this level marked out, previous day level. I think this is going to be an important level right here, and if we are going to move to the downside, this is probably number 1 on my watch list to see if we get this move down, retest, and get it down here. The thing with Tesla is you don't have to have a ginormous move. Now, I know, Amir, you were saying, hey, hang on to those trailers. We had a really good move on Tesla yesterday. I agree with you. If you're in a small account, you're going to have to take the money and run. If you're in a big account, you'll have that money, and then you'll have a couple contracts left over that you can use for that bigger move if we get it. But I gotta say, if you're in a small account, $3,000 or less, you're going to want to take your profits. All right. You guys have any questions on any of this stuff? Anything that you want to talk about? We'll talk about MSTR. MSTR had a really nice move off of the crush it zone on Friday. Here it is on the 10 second. You can see it's just classic A+. We get this nice crossover. Here's your add-in. And we're in the crush it zone, which I like. So this is what makes this one a really nice play, is because as you look on Amazon, was it Amazon? Like, we're already down by the 382, and we're in this trade off the crush it zone. At least in MSTR, we are in the crush it zone when we're entering in, so we have a really good possibility. Where is this at here? Of this getting down now to the 0.382, which is going to give me about a $5 move, 1.9%. So that is a classic A+ setup there on MSTR. All right, guys. All right, we got the open in about 30-40 minutes. That will do it for today, and we'll see you guys here in just a few minutes.